we will talk about the conclusions of the working groups who have been working while we were organizing these panels. They've been composed by journalists, politicians, experts in the legal world, associations, companies, and now they will expose the conclusions they've reached. So please, I'd like to invite to the stage the spokespeople of the 4 working groups. They will explain their reflections, their thoughts, their conclusions, the points we have to, the elements we have to insist upon, etc. The first group has been working on best practices on the awareness raising among the youth in terms of cybersecurity, technical careers, and the media. The moderator and the spokesperson is Evangelina Regan. She's part of the communication cabinet of the Ministry for the Digital World. The second group has been talking about best practices to prevent violence in the net. Encarne Iglesias is the chair. Encarne is the president of the Stop Violencia Digital Association. The third group has been talking on future opportunities in the technological world and the cybersecurity field. They will explain their conclusions. The chairperson will be Eduvigis Ortiz, who will come up to the stage again. She is the director of Alliances and Innovation Department in Prosegur Security, and the fourth group will be talking about the actions of the stakeholders, public and private sectors, and the government in order to promote gender diversity. The chairperson is Daniela Snidrik, project manager at Global Partners Digital. Thank you. Each of them will talk about the conclusions and the key points we have to focus upon in order to improve inclusion, the inclusion in the world of cybersecurity, and to prevent the newspapers from... Let's give them an applause.
Pues buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank my working group for working so hard, because while you were enjoying the keynote speeches and all the speeches we've been talking hotly, and our vision is not very different from the vision of the speakers who have taken part in the panels. So without any further delay, I'd like to tell you our conclusions. You know what our mission was. We wanted to draft best practices in order to raise awareness among the youth, the young girls, in terms of the importance of the digital world through 2 influencing factors: the educational world and the mass media. So the starting point for us was the digital world in which we live. Now we cannot ignore it. We live in a digital world, and cybersecurity is a new professional career, not just limited to the technological professions. We also wanted to think about practical solutions to try and encourage that young girls consider the world of cybersecurity as a career path. Secondly, the starting point in the educational world was the divide between the choice of studies, technological studies, between boys and girls in the educational system. We wanted to know why women didn't choose sciences and technical studies, and we wanted to know whether it was a reality or not. And finally, the starting point in the mass media was to see how the mass media could be so much everywhere, both the traditional media and the social media and all the contents that is available online, because they could be a vehicle and a shop window, like a window for those attitudes. And finally, we've analyzed the role of the female communicators in disseminating the work done by other women in terms of cybersecurity. So we performed a diagnosis. We didn't want to be too comprehensive because we had just 3 hours for this, but I am happy to see that we were not too far away from what you've heard here in the panels and what the rest of experts have said. So that's a good sign. We realized that in this diagnosis there was lack of knowledge. We didn't know what cybersecurity was, or people don't know about what cybersecurity is, or what's the extent of cybersecurity. This is something we hear in the mass media, but we don't know much about its extent. And also we have detected a lack of visibility of women as benchmarks or role models girls can imitate or get inspiration from when choosing what they want to be when they grow up. There's also a lack of, and this can also become a practical thing, there's a lack of indicators that show what the real presence of women in cybersecurity, both in the educational and in the business world. And also, we've analyzed the difference in America and in Spain. We cannot make a real comparison because we are not on the same page. We've also detected that, unfortunately, in our culture, in our society, there are stereotypes that disencourage girls to choose a technological career or a cybersecurity career path. As in the rest of the professions, it's complicated to have work-life balance, as in many other professions, I would say. So no matter what other women do, it's complicated to have a balanced life. But before we start with the practical conclusions, I have to say that we are optimistic because we are together building the field of cybersecurity that we want for the future, and that's a reason for optimism. So in a few minutes, within minutes, I will show you the conclusions, and especially this is a work that I hope someone will take over from us. These are our practical proposals. We want to create an institutional campaign similar to the ones by the traffic department or or other ministries in Spain, or the health ministry, about the tobacco. So it could be an advertising campaign for adults, for teenagers, for children, to raise the awareness about the cyber security. I think it's important. Also, we think it could be useful to include in the legal texts that are being drafted now a reference to equality and diversity. For example, in the review of the National Cybersecurity Agenda, or in the transposition of the NIS directive and some other texts, we think they should include a reference to diversity and gender equality. And finally, we want to promote the active participation of women in this kind of fora or in working groups. They need to be invited and to be able to participate. In terms of education, we want that subject on cybersecurity. We want a subject on cybersecurity to be created, so that child, since they are 3, until the end of their educational life, until the end of their school life, will receive notions on cybersecurity and the protection of cybersecurity. And that way they could consider using or protecting cybersecurity, not just restricted to technical or mathematical sciences. Cybersecurity is broader. It's related to finance, to law, to business administration, psychology, psychiatry. So I think that if we explain that cybersecurity is not just what you would think about it at first, or that it doesn't relate to the stereotype that we all have about it, more girls could feel interested in it. And finally, we propose to organize camps or after-school activities related to cybersecurity or workshops. Finally, more proposals in the field of communication and newspapers would like to create a specific training for journalists who want to talk about cybersecurity now and in the future, so that they can talk about cybersecurity in a very informed way, because nowadays there are no such thing as journalists specializing in cybersecurity. We know this is necessary because in the aftermath of the recent events, some journalists have to consult with experts in order to inform about the events. So it could be promoted through the press associations and through the journalism schools. Also, we think it could be useful to cover news about women, pieces of news about women who are leaders who work in the field of cybersecurity. And also we want to promote the creation of entertainment contents, fictional contents, leisure contents that can be inspirational for girls, be it in the form of movies or comics or books or series. Thank you.
Bueno, pues ahora me toca a mí.
Well, it's my turn. I represent the second group. My job, or our task, was to talk about the digital violence. I'd like to thank INCIBE for giving me the opportunity to take part in this forum. From the beginning, we thought that it could be a great opportunity to inform about the world of the Internet, because Internet does not have any obstacle, any barrier. So all the attacks can reach the whole planet in a matter of minutes, and we have to get the positive things out of it, out of the Internet. Secondly, I'd like to thank the participants in the working group. It's great to see how great professionals in the legal fields, lawyers, technicians, get involved in this current problem that we live in. So it gives me the willingness to keep on fighting and working, motivation. So in my working group, it's best practices to avoid or to prevent violence, gender violence in the net. So we wanted to know whether there is enough legislation to stop the cyber attacks, whether the police forces are prepared to fight against gender violence, if the minors, the children, are trained in the use of Internet, in the good use of Internet. We've also analyzed the possibility to include filters in the social media. In some countries, such filters exist. So maybe we should unify their existence or their availability. And the fourth question was, are we ready for the use of these new technologies? So these questions are everywhere, and the answers that we find are not satisfactory. The answers we've found, this is not mine, this is not my presentation, sorry. So, our conclusion is that the technological world has to be sustained by the legislation, by the education, and by a broad set of needs and concepts. Education is key. We need to use the new technologies in the right way. And for that we need to know them and to understand them. It's not as difficult as it might seem. You just have to follow some instructions. Our children, and when I say children, I mean people under 20 years of age, are millennials. They are digital natives, but they need limits. The same way we learn them how to cross a pedestrian cross, we have to teach them how to use the social media, what they can and what they cannot do. This is part of our job. It is a job of the educators and the teachers, but also the job of the parents. And that's a real problem, because some parents, and I include myself in that group, do not know how to use the technology. So we don't know how to teach them how to use them either. In some cases, they teach us how to use them. So we cannot set any limits to them. So we need to have a clear set of criteria, because they also have a right to their privacy.
Cada uno ahí pondremos el listón donde mejor nos parezca.
But of course,
Yo quiero
we
estar
might have different
informada de lo que hacen
opinions.
mis hijos por
I
internet.
want to know what my children do
No me voy a
on
meter
the
en
net,
todo lo que
and
hacen,
I'm
pero
not
sí
going
quiero
to
saber a dónde entran.
try and know everything they
Por
do, but I
desgracia, se
want
están
to
viendo
know
mucho los casos
the pages
que
they
ponemos
visit,
la tecnología
the websites they
a
visit.
manos de los
We
niños,
have
sin preocuparnos en absoluto
many
de
examples
dónde
in which
entran, por dónde navegan, con quién
children
hablan.
have access to
Y el
a
problema de
great
Internet
array of
es el
technology
anonimato que tienen
without
los perfiles.
us knowing what they
Un niño puede
do,
pensar
and
que
they
está
can
hablando
be
con otro
totally
niño y
anonymous
está
in their
hablando con
profiles.
una
They
persona
might think a children or child
con grandes
can
problemas
think they
como
are
pueden
talking
ser
to another
que nos
child, and
todos
instead they're talking to an adult.
a personas pues eso que estén buscando
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm referring to. People who are in search of sexual activities, or they are interested
mucho
in
más graves de los que
other types of
de
crimes
los
they
que
can
nos podemos
do
pensar y por desgracia estamos
with
viendo.
in which the victim is a child.
Aparte de los niños,
They are much more
en
frequent
cuanto a
than
digi-
what
a
we
educación
think.
digital,
Regarding the digital action,
otro punto que hemos encontrado muy
another
importante
element
es el de los cuerpos y
important
fuerzas de
for
seguridad
us
del
is the
Estado.
role of the police forces.
Es un cuerpo, vamos, son todos los
The
cuerpos, porque me voy a
police
centrar en uno.
forces
Tienen unos campos de trabajo,
They have
tienen
some
unos especialistas
experts
pueden ser los mejores.
work in fields.
El
They
problema
may
con
be
lo que
the
se están
best.
encontrando es que
The
no
problem
dan
they are
abasto
facing
hoy
is
en
that
día
they cannot
con la cantidad de delitos informáticos y
get hold
violencia
of
digital que
everything
tenemos en
because
las
there
redes.
is a lot of
Es un
digital
problema que no vaya a menos,
violence
va a ir a más.
and digital
Sin embargo,
crimes,
esos departamentos no crecen a
and
la
that
misma
will go in
velocidad
the rise.
que
And
los
however, the
ataques.
departments do not
No solamente tendrían que existir
move
esos
forward at the same pace.
cuerpos especiales, por llamarlos
We
de
do
alguna
not
manera.
only need those special or
Todo aquel
expert task
profesional que de
forces,
una manera u otra esté
the
relacionada
professionals
con las víctimas
that
de
are
violencia digital,
relating with
que
the
puede ser el
victims
mismo
of
funcionario que
digital
coge la
violence.
denuncia
It
en una
may be the
comisaría,
same civil officer that
tendrían que estar
files the
preparados
complaint at a police
en cuanto
office
al
or
tratamiento de las
should
evidencias
be
digitales.
trained regarding
evidencias digitales
the
son
management
muy
of
volátiles.
digital
Es un
evidences
tema
and
muy
proofs.
delicado
They are
que
very
si no llevan un
volatile. It is a
tratamiento
very delicate
adecuado,
issue,
las vamos a
and if
perder.
they are not well
Si
managed, they
perdemos
will be
esas
lost in the
evidencias,
way. And if we lose
estamos perdiendo
those
un caso
evidences, those
judicial.
proofs, we may lose a
Estamos
legal
haciendo que
case.
una mala extracción
And therefore,
nos niegue la posibilidad de una defensa en
we
un tribunal.
cannot defend properly our
Entonces,
victim before
yo
the
no digo
court.
que todo el mundo tenga que ser experto, pero sí es muy
I'm not
necesario
saying
que
everybody
cierto
should
grupo
have
de
the
profesionales,
training, but it's
como puede
important
ser
that
policía, vamos, cuerpos
task
y
force
todos los
of
cuerpos y fuerzas de
experts,
seguridad del
all
Estado,
the forces
abogados,
of
psicólogos,
security, of the
trabajadores
state, psychologists,
detectives,
social
todo
workers,
aquel que pueda estar en
detectives,
un momento dado
anybody
cerca de una
who may
víctima de
be
violencia digital.
close at a
Tiene que
certain
tener
point in
unas
time
pautas
of
mínimas de
digital
cómo manipular
violence
evidencias
victim.
digitales
They should
para
follow
no
some
perder pruebas a la
guidelines
hora de
in terms of how to
presentarlas
manipulate those
en un
proofs
juzgado.
to avoid
Luego
problems
hemos tocado
when
otro tema, que es el de la
presenting them
legislación.
before
Yo
the
no voy a
court.
pasar esto no
Then
es
we
mío.
have touched upon another topic, legislation.
Existen leyes.
There are laws.
Existen leyes en un plano internacional.
There are
Tenemos el Convenio
international
de Budapest.
laws. We have Budapest Convention.
En materia sustantiva, tanto penal como procesal, tenemos herramientas legales
We
suficientes,
also have enough legal
ocurre?
tools.
que son herramientas
But the problem
están a la mano
lies
del
in the
ciudadano.
fact that they are not
A día de hoy
close,
todavía son
closer
muchos
to
delitos
the
que se cometen,
citizen.
lo puedo asegurar,
Many crimes are
porque nos
committed
pensamos
nowadays because we
que no
think
existen las leyes,
that laws
que en los temas
do not
digitales
exist,
podemos
that in
hacer
terms
y
of
decir
digital
lo que nos dé la
crimes
gana,
we can do and say whatever we
que
want.
son delitos que van a quedar
They are
impunes.
crimes that will
Les
have
puedo
no
asegurar que no es así.
fine or
Ahí yo sí
sentence,
metería
will not be
la
punished.
importancia de los
And
medios
in
de
this regard,
comunicación,
I will
que lo mismo que hacen
refer to
campañas
the importance
tipos
of
de
the
delitos
media, the same
digitales,
as they
sería
launch
muy
campaigns
interesante.
on the
Yo no
type
pido que
of
se
different
especifiquen las leyes
digital
y que nos
crimes.
expliquen código
I'm
por
not
código y
asking
artículo
them
por
to
artículo,
explain article per
pero
article,
sí
code by
que
code,
nos hagan ser
but they
conscientes
should make us all
de que existen
aware
leyes,
of
de
the
que los ataques
laws
digitales
and tell us that digital attacks, digital violence should be denounced and they are punished. Maybe what I'm saying is nonsense, or you think it is nonsense, but you cannot imagine the amount of cases of people who do not even know they are being victims of digital crime. And also the person who is committing the crime, that person does not know he or she is committing a crime. The same as there are physical crimes, physical violence down the street, digital crimes, digital violence is also punished because we have laws. And the media has also that task or duty, to launch campaigns in this direction. Now I will go into a field I do not fully agree with, that is the concept of digital gender violence. And I wonder, in the digital world, do you think there is such a large difference between men and women? No, there isn't. There are different types of crimes. Some of them are more towards a gender or towards another, but let's not forget that as soon as we are suffering from that attack, we do not know the person who is committing that crime. It may come from Pepito, male name in Spanish, but it may be a hidden personality, and it may be a person, a female. The face-to-face encounter never happens, and you need it when defending yourself from a man. But in internet, you do not have that possibility. The computer screen does not provoke so much fear in us as what it is the personal encounter. It is true that women are suffering much more mobbing and harassment, but in the digital field, it is high time we used the term gender. Digital gender should protect us all equally. The digital world does not have any limits for women either. Yesterday someone said something that it created a concern in myself that digital professional careers have to be adapted to women. Thank God, nowadays, we women are having skills and competencies to get whatever we want. I do not need special pathways to reach these kind of studies. They have to tell me there are these professional careers, but what I do not want is a special pathway, as if I lacked something. No, it is true that nowadays we prefer to study other things, other subjects, but these other professional studies are there, and we can go for them as well. In the community of Madrid, secondary school level, students are being informed about the labor opportunities or job opportunities in this field. Let's see within 5 years whether or not we have women. Because unfortunately, currently, apart from doing what you like doing, people study something because there is a job demand. In 5 years, if we still meet here, let's see the rise of women in digital professional studies or professional careers. And the digital career is not only digital analysis, all the fields are becoming digital. Technological economy, technological law. Everybody is including an aspect of new technologies in the curriculum. Of course, digital violence exists. I'm not going to say there isn't. There are still women dying because of violence and because some men think that they are superior to women. But I also want to say that women can do what we want. We women can do whatever we want without any kind of special treatment.
Y ya por último, también quiero decir que la problemática social.
Also adding to that, the social problems they have in Latin America are different from the ones we face here in Spain or in other European countries, but that is also due to the fact that the concept of violence or gender violence is wider. It encompasses other topics, not only related to women. In each country, well, they do things in a different way, so the solution to the problem is different depending on where you live. Latin America different from Europe. But well, after all, our interest is reaching conclusions, okay, that we join efforts and that we reach a good result. That's all. And then finally, I'm going to now fully support Alberto and INCIBE. I think it is very necessary indeed to have an observatory of digital violence with real data, accurate data, because we don't have them at present. We do not know how many types of digital violence there are, the number of cases we have. They are crimes, but they are common crimes nowadays. We do not even know where they come from, the origin, or we do not have real data regarding the age of the people who are mostly affected by this violence. We are just handling the data given by some institutions, but if you want to urge change in the legislation framework, they are not useful because you need official data. We have already drafted a project, and it is a project, but now we need institutional support you can provide us with, because of course we technicians, we experts have a way so that prosecutor's office, legal office and police force send the data to prepare the statistical service, but of course the government is not helping much. We need to know exactly what is happening, and we need accurate and real data. And so far, we do not have them. Whenever we have those data, unfortunately, we're going to be taken aback because they are going to be alarming, I tell you. And I'll finish with this. Thank you.
A ver. Que esta sí es la mía. Qué responsabilidad esto de ser los penúltimos antes de
It's a responsibility to be the last before the last.
del primer foro internacional. La verdad es que han sido
Before
dos
we
días
finish the international forum,
estupendos que
have been 2 great days. We have shared many ideas. The first group has been very much aligned to what we have discussed in our group, in our working group. Thank you very much for the passion to share your experience, your standpoints, your different points of view. It has been great. Now, on behalf of the working group number 3, I'm going to tell you what we have been discussing. We talked about the opportunities of development of technological future and cybersecurity, which is in the line of what was discussed in the first group, because one of the conclusions we have reached will be very much related to the media. Yesterday and today, we shared data on how women are infra-represented in technological world or in cybersecurity. The great opportunity ahead of us, thanks to this new digital age, it is a great opportunity for everybody. for all the individuals, and as my colleague mentioned before, within 5 years we will see that there will be many more people working in this area, because there is an opportunity, there are many jobs, there is a job demand. And now what the companies are identifying is a lack of skilled workers to develop the projects we want to develop in cybersecurity or technological area. We are addressing the fourth industrial revolution, one of the fastest. We can observe changes now and in the near future, many changes in terms of the working methodology and the way we relate to each other and the way we offer services to our clients and the way we establish relationships with our friends and relatives. It is fundamental to attract female talent and give them visibility so that they can become benchmarks and references. In the previous panel, they said the woman has already reached the moon, but we do not know it. The woman has already stepped on the moon, but we do not know her name. That is what we have to change. It is the so-called Matilda story, very often mentioned. Matilda has had a fundamental role in terms of the female suffrage, and nobody knows her. And many times the women are kind of hidden in those research teams, but the merits are for the leader of the research projects, or our husbands, like in the case of Marie Curie, or many other women. And the media, and we, each of us, has to change those things, to break with those stereotypes, so that women are not just limited to the typical female roles, princesses. No, because that is what the girls will see. If we had more models, more roles, more female astronauts, I'm sure the girls would like to become astronauts, because there is no barrier. We can do whatever we want, okay? We only need more benchmarks, more references, more role models. As for our conclusions, we have to attract talent, give visibility, break with the stereotypes. And how? Well, by promoting, by a different model in our houses, households, businesses, schools. We all have to become change agents and give a better communication. I decided to become an industrial engineer when I was 12, because some industrial engineers came from the university. I didn't know that it was going to be my university, but they came to tell us what they did. And I thought it was really interesting. And I thought, I want to be one of them one day. And here I am. So we have to reflect upon this for a minute and start to do away with these barriers. Because those barriers is only our barriers. And we have to use for that the media. They have to help us out. We have to realize, why are these fora necessary? Why those who are sitting there, thank you very much to the men sitting in this venue, because there are very many for this kind of content. You have to help us out. You all have to urge the change. We cannot do the change ourselves alone. I enjoy my job. I am a passionate of technology, cybersecurity. Whenever I have an opportunity, I tell everybody about my passion, my love, so that they know and they realize that if they want, they can. But we have to do it from the inside and from the outside. So it is paramount to identify and mitigate this bias that we have as a society. This is fundamental. And it all happens unconsciously, in an unconscious way. We have to make an effort to identify them. Because sometimes we, women, even repeat the patterns of our mothers and grandmothers, although our professional life is totally different from their professional lives. And that is in our hands. Here is where our opportunity lies. In this new digital age, we have the tools to work in a way that is more in agreement with what we like, women. Remote working methodologies, working multidisciplinary teams, etc., etc. This is an idea that has been repeated once and again, but that is true, and those are the data. Cross-sectoral cybersecurity. You do not have to be an industrial engineer, you do not have to be a telecommunication expert, you can be a lawyer, you can be a psychologist, criminologist, you can be anything, biologist even. In our sector, in Prosegur, we have even journalists. We have communication experts who are doing digital surveillance, searching the different webs to protect our customers. And it is very interesting and it is beautiful. And if we communicate it more often, there will be a lot of vocation, because it is a very interesting job. And it is good for us, for women, because we have the skills required, we have the intuition required, we realize many things, we have a sixth sense. And for these kind of jobs, that sixth sense is fundamental. And if you go home with just these two ideas, fab. I include everybody, I think we would all be really pleased. We are all change agents. We all have to work on an everyday basis in our circle of influence with our neighbors, relatives, friends. The whole society has to change. The media needs to support us. Academy, world, the companies, the business world. We all have to do it to build up a more fair society with more cybersecurity, but also for all of us to be the best person we can become and do the job we love doing. We are the new men and women of Renaissance. And this is our responsibility and at the same time a challenge. That learning capacity, the curiosity to want to do things and move on and become what we want to become, that is our focus. And we have to work in this sense in our households and with the whole society. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Before and foremost, thank you very much for having invited me to this process, and thank you very much to all my partners in my working group. 2 days of enriching discussions, so it will be a challenge to summarize conclusions in 9 minutes, but I will make my best effort. And of course, we can continue talking about any of these topics when we finish the session. You can approach me. Before talking about the potential roles of new players to promote gender and diversity, we talked about challenges and obstacles. We identified very many, to our surprise, but many of them were, for example, lack of knowledge on cybersecurity. Terminology sometimes is a challenge per se, so we need to adapt a language so that cybersecurity becomes more attractive. Lack of gender diversity in cybersecurity is only one aspect of a larger problem, that is the the little percentage of women working in technological world, in ICTs. We do not know opportunities, roles, the contribution of women to science, stereotypes were also mentioned by my colleagues here, but at the same time they maintain throughout the times inequalities, lack of information. We do not have a diagnosis of the present situation, and therefore we cannot formulate specific objectives and action plans. Gender violence that prevents women from participating fully in the digital world. We identify some opportunities that are common to all players. We need a commitment by players towards equality in practice and the responsibility to ensure the commitment with training in equality, commitment by all the players to do away with the stereotypes and gender barriers. Education is also important, holistic education, inclusive education, including ICTs at schools, institutionalization of gender studies as well, training, internal empowerment of the players related to gender issues, the use of inclusive language and terminology in all sectors, strengthen, give visibility to the role, contribution and work of women in the world of sciences, and more specifically in cybersecurity. And then we move on to specific roles of the players, for example, a state role. Main role is implementation of public policies. They have to adopt measures to do away with the gender divide. We need holistic policies. States have to generate space to promote open dialogue with other actors or players, private sector or the civilian society. Commitment in terms of cybersecurity include these topics in the curricula at schools, universities. Commitment to have the needed resources to promote these policies in practice. We need implementation and resources to do so. We have to provide support to those victims of gender violence. So education is important to avoid these kind of problems. If they happen, we need action plans. Drafting on positive discrimination measures, university scholarships, for example, to promote diversity and participation. As for the role of the academic world to promote the participation of women in ICTs, one of the specific examples is to give visibility to the work of women in this industrial sector, to generate a list of success stories of women who have contributed to the story, to the history of our sciences. Include these topics in the curriculum, always from gender perspectives, also when communicating the subjects of the professional careers, to do it without any stereotypes. Always provide evidence. Everything has to be based on evidence. We need more information and more research to develop informed public policies. A proposal to establish academic networks related to gender, to cooperate, share information projects. This is not the role of just one player. We have to act jointly encourage debate in a dynamic way. As for the role of civil society, active participation in the different processes, monitor the compliance with the commitments, permanent demand regarding policies of the state, regarding compliance, responsibility, commitment, also promote empowerment in terms of cybersecurity with a gender perspective. We can have plans, empowerment campaigns, targeting society. We also have to note down challenges regarding participation of civil society. Many times to have legitimate participation in these processes is very difficult, not only to participate, but they would also have a real impact, and that is a challenge. As for the private sector, the relevance of having a gender perspective in all the internal processes, more equal ways, for example, in terms of contracting, hiring staff, with the core responsibility in terms of the family life, men and women here involved, flexibility of timetables, etc., etc. We also need the support of the state in this regard. Commitment with the treaties on digital responsibility, for example. We have a holistic commitment in terms of the gender perspective, and that has to be made visible. And some example of best practices. Finally, it is very important regarding the role of citizenship to do away with those stereotypes, to change the paradigm, and to go from a chauvinist society to more equal models. This process will not happen from night to day. It requires everybody's involvement. And those are our conclusions. It is not enough the action of just one single player. All players have to get involved in a coordinated way. It is not enough to have good wishes. We need a commitment by all players when implementing these plans. Especially in this process, this forum, we embrace the initiative, and we have to continue this dialogue, this process, with a specific action plan, continue organizing events, working groups, discussions, so that there is a continuation and things do not finish today. And then cybersecurity policies have to develop in a transparent, inclusive way. Thank you so much. 45 seconds.